Okay guys, so what we're going to be doing today is looking at doing some architectural visualization within Unreal Engine. So yeah, what we've got to do this, if I come over here to 3ds Max, I have my 3D model, with my architectural model, which is textured up, ready to go. I've just done a real simple sort of exterior uh, scene, if you like, to bring with me, just for some context. Um, you may have a lot more available to you than this. This is more about how you can use these techniques within your own work. Okay, so anyway, this is what I've got as a demo. This is a 3D model that was created on some other videos on this channel. So if you want something and you're starting completely from scratch, you could go back and start with those if you wanted. But what we've got is I'm going to go to the Epic Games launcher. Unreal Engine is installed through this Epic Games launcher. Okay, so you see I've got here, it says launch Unreal Engine 5. That's what I already have pre-installed and everything. So I have already pushed launch in advance. And what you will find when you launch Unreal Engine is you'll have the option to do all this stuff. Now, what I'm actually going to do is I'm not going to look at this architecture stuff and this ArcViz stuff right now. What I'm actually going to do this through is the games sort of templates and the first person template, because what that does, it means we can just sort of basically clear, the gun and everything, and we can just have it as a person that can walk around and explore the environment that we've created. Okay, so we're going to use that. So we're going to click first person there, choose a location to save it, whatever you want to call it, that's up to you. Target platform you want to leave as desktop, quality preset. This is all going to be dependent on your PC, but I'm going to leave that as maximum. And I want to include the starter content because it's got some nice materials and things in there for us that we can use straight away. Ray tracing we don't need to really worry about, certainly not now. Okay, so I'm going to hit create, and that will create me a project. What I'll do is I'll give it a pause and I'll come back when it's created. Okay, so when Unreal Engine loads, you will be starting off with something like this, which is going to have a bunch of stuff that we don't need in it. So we can start deleting things away first of all. So just going to delete stuff like that. Over here on the right-hand side with Unreal Engine, if I move this down, you've got everything that's in the scene at the moment. So if I click once at the top and then hold Shift and click down there, I can select a bunch of things at one time. So I can just clear away all this stuff we don't want anymore. No, we want these cubes. Don't want those. I think that should be fine. Just going to change the scalability down to medium just so it runs a bit smoother. Right. Also, I don't need these walls here, so I'll just click and delete those. When you're just quickly with Unreal Engine, when you're moving around, you can right click and sort of move the mouse around. With right click held down, if you use your WASD keys, you can move around. It takes some getting used to. If you use 3ds Max like me, it's really kind of awkward to move between the two at first, but you soon get used to it. So I just got this platform ready to import my architectural model into this scene. So I'm going to jump back to 3ds Max, and what I'm going to do is now export this. So notice that everything is in individual parts. It doesn't matter whether it is in parts or not, but I'm going to do mine in individual parts. You can see everything here. So what I'm just going to do now, I'm going to go File, Export, choose a place to save it, and give it a name, house, and you want to stick with the default .fbx file type. When you hit save, it will give you some settings you want to change. So you want to change some of these. What you want to do is turn off Turbo Smooth. For an architectural model, you probably aren't going to be using um, Turbo Smooth. If you have used Turbo Smooth and you know what it is, you might want to keep it on, but I don't want it. I don't need that one on, and we can preserve the edges, that's fine. Animation, don't have any of that, so I'm going to untick that. Cameras, don't want any of those. Lights, I don't want to bring any lights with me. All the lighting is going to be done in Unreal Engine. Embed media, we want this on because that means all the textures and stuff that I've added to my model are going to come with the export. All right, and then the rest is fine. Hit OK. That should export relatively quickly. There you go, that's done. Back to Unreal. To simplify the layout of Unreal, what I like to do is just go to Window, Load Layout, and the UE4, that's the Unreal Engine 4 layout, which looks like this. So it's got all your folders down here and things like that. For me, it's much easier to work with, and for a beginner, I imagine it probably is too. Great. So now I need to import my model. So what I'm going to do along the bottom here in this content folder, I'm going to create a new folder. Again, just call it house. And in here, I'm going to import. Find wherever you saved your export. So you can see I've got this one here called house. That's the one I did. So I'm going to push open. You get again a load of settings. You know, we're just starting out. We don't need to worry about all this for now. So just hit import all and be done with all that. You may have some errors. You know, you can see I've got loads. Probably because I didn't put UVW maps on everything. I think it's going to be fine, so I'm going to ignore that for now. And what you'll see down here now is that every single individual item has been added in from my house, which technically, you know, I could drop in everything individually, like there's a pane of glass, but that would obviously be a nightmare to bring it all in individually and rebuild the whole model. You know, there's all the walls and everything. And all the materials have come in as well. So what I want to do is I want to select the first model as part of the building. Scroll down to where you see the last one, which is going to be anything with this turquoisey color. Hold shift and select, so it's all selected at once. Right, and then I drag that in, and you can see my whole scene has come in all together. Just going to raise that up really slightly, so it's not going crazy. Okay, so I can already see that the scaling is going to be off there, so I'm going to scale this up. Scaling is going to be a thing where I built my model, I didn't build it exactly to scale in 3ds Max. So that's why it's not come into scale here, but if you've built your model to scale, then it will come through to the right scale. So I'm going to say that's probably fine. What you want to do is you want to push play up here, and you can see now that I'm this kind of hand, but I can walk around my model. If I approach the doors and everything, scale looks pretty good, really. Certainly for this exercise, I'm happy with that. You can see there's some issues where when I walk up here, I can only go so far. That's something we need to fix in a minute. Some of the materials, like the glass, obviously isn't, the opacity hasn't come through. So again, we can change that in a minute. But that's all great. So I don't need to modify the house any further. So I can, deselect it. If you need to then rescale this later, but after you've deselected it, again, you can come up here, select the first thing, scroll down, hold shift, select the last thing, and everything will be reselected again. Right, so some fixing to do. I can just change this back to high so that the shadows look a bit better. There we go. Obviously, because we loaded the gaming template, I'm going to get rid of this rifle. We don't need that, so hit delete on that one. And also we don't want these hands or this hand in front of our face. So what we want to do is come down to the first person folder here, where it says blueprints. You'll see one called BP underscore first person character. Double click that to load it. Go to this tab here called viewport and click on these arms. Over to the right in these settings, again, you don't need to know all this. This is all for gaming. We're not doing that. We're doing architectural stuff today. So where it says skeletal mesh, click on the drop down and push the clear button. What you don't want to do is click that and push delete, the delete key, because it's going to screw things up. So click that, click on this drop down and push clear. Okay, once you've done that, click that compile and save button, and you can close down this little sub window that's opened. Right, so now when I push play, I can walk around with my WASD keys like you would in a game, but I have nothing in front of me, no gun or anything. I can just explore this environment, which again, as I said for this example, is only a small section. Great, so what we can now do is look at, first of all, this glass texture. Glass in 3ds Max is always very difficult to create, and if you don't have anything, you know, fancy like V-Ray, Corona, that kind of thing, glass is, you know, difficult. But luckily, with Unreal Engine, we go to Starter Content and Materials. We've got a whole bunch of nicely pre-made materials that we can use, one of which being glass. Okay, M underscore glass. So if I simply just drag this onto one of my panes of glass there, it looks as though it's just gone black. That's just because of the shadow, but that's added a glass texture to that. So I can just go around and anywhere I've got glass, just drag that on. Hopefully it'll look a bit better on this side. I'm going to adjust the lighting again in a bit, so you can start to see that is transparent. Glass here, 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 up there. Again, we can see the beams through there. On the door here, and here, and around this side. Great. So immediately we've updated our glass texture, so things already don't look so odd. That's great. So far we've managed to import our 3D model. We've set it up so when we push play, we can just sort of explore around the environment by walking around. What we want to do now is kind of play with the lighting a little bit. I'm actually going to close this side down to give us a bit more space. First thing you want to do is come over to this icon here. It's like a sun with a direction. And you can probably guess what I can do with this. I can get my rotate tool, and if I rotate this, so the direction of the sun essentially, I can change the time of day. So I can have it like a, you know, sunset. I can have it like midday, going into the evening, whatever you want to do. So I'm just going to turn it so the sun is facing the front of the building a bit, kind of like that. So push play now. Got the sun here on the front. Okay, and already if you look at that kind of view that you've got there, compared to what we had in 3ds Max, you know, even if I turn off those edged faces, it's a much nicer, more kind of realistic view. We've barely done anything really so far. In fact, we've not really done anything. We've just imported it in. So, right. What I want to do now is look at foliage a bit. Something that's very difficult again to do in 3ds Max, creating like a tree, a photorealistic tree from scratch is near on impossible. So how are we going to manage that? What we're going to do is I'm going to go back to the Epic Games launcher, and I'm going to go to the marketplace. Now the marketplace for Unreal has loads and loads of free content. So if I go on free, I can go to Epic Games content, for example, and there's a whole bunch of stuff. It's particularly for architecture. You've got like some backyard furniture here, some indoor furniture there. some human poses, uh, musical instruments, you know what I mean, office stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can download for free. Cars, vehicles, another really good one that you can import into your scene. One I'm looking for is a foliage one. I'm not going to look through this forever because I know which one it is because I've already got it in my library. So once you add this to your car and you technically purchase it, but it's free, it will be in your library, which is down here. So you can see I've got a whole bunch of things that I've got in mine here. And the one that you want here is called Nature Package. So if I click that, this is the one that I use. It's completely free. So you can see it's got these trees, grass, flowers, rocks. It's got water in there, all sorts of things that are really useful. So that's already, well, as I said, for me downloaded. So once you've downloaded it, I can add it to a project. And here is the one that I made recently called My Project. And then I just hit Add to Project. What it then does, you can see down here, it's kind of downloading all of the resources and importing it into my current project here. If I move this up a little bit, yeah, there we go. That just popped in there. I can see that it started to bring in this nature package folder where everything is going to start to be imported. Okay, where's it gone? I think it's already done. That was quick. Okay. So again, with all of those things that I showed you, like the vehicles, all that kind of stuff, you can just do the same thing and add it in, and you're good to go to use them. So if I go to the meshes folder, I think with here, rescaled flora is probably the best bet. Yes, we've got all of this. If I make this bigger again, all of these individual models, trees, good stuff that I can use. So if I bring in this conifer one, drag and drop it into the scene. At first it will look a bit weird because it's loading in all of the shaders. You can see down here it's preparing the shaders, 332 shaders to prepare. This is the thing that's going to take the most time. Again, depending on your PC power, when you first start moving one of them in, it's got to add in all of these shaders. So that's done a nice little jump down. As soon as it starts to add them in, you can see the tree is there. And these ones are really nice because they've got this animation within them. So they're kind of moving in the breeze, which kind of brings the scene to life a little bit. So if I put this tree, I don't know, in the front garden, why not? What else have we got? This one. Obviously, you want to make sure that the leaves and things aren't bumping in with your building, is it? Don't think so. Get away with that, I think. And it's nice to have those kind of shadows across the front of the building. Looks really nice. What else do we have? We've got some grass, which I think if I drag this in, the scale will be way off. Let's wait for those shaders to load. Taking a while with the grass for some reason. Yeah, I don't really like that one. Delete that one. This one's a bit better. So with grass, obviously what you could do, I think I would need to scale this down. Get the scale tool, we can scale that. It's not the best grass, I will say, but it's okay. But obviously just having a little tuft there isn't going to do much. And applying that, copying and pasting that a whole bunch of times across the whole scene would take forever. So what I'll show you is a way to use the foliage tool to apply grass to a larger area. So what I need to do is come up to here where it says select mode, change that to foliage. And what I want to use for foliage is here. So I'm going to drag that into that foliage section. Choose a location where you want. It's going to basically change it into a sort of a foliage usable file type or object type, and then press save. And then you see I've got this this brush, if you like, which I don't want it to be that big. So I've got brush size up here. Can turn that down. Something like that, maybe 150, something like that will be fine. And we want to click on the grass itself. Working in a very small window here. And there's a couple of things we want to do. So if I click now, it would give me a bunch of grass, but the scale isn't quite right. Now I'm not too happy with that. So what you need to do is change down here the scale here. So I want that to be like 0.2 maybe. Same there, 0.2. So if I click again, maybe the scale is too low. 0.6. Okay, that's fine. So the scale is fine, but again, I want to increase the density. So the density can be like 1,000 of grass. It needs to be really high. There you go. So it's added like a big patch of grass really quickly and easily. Other thing I just want to do is align to normal off, because what that means is if you have a slightly sort of sloped surface, then the grass will also be sloped instead of pointing upwards. I think that's probably about it for the basics. So, when I click here, I've got a nice patch of grass, and you can just continue to kind of just build that up across everywhere, like that. I've done that really quickly, so it's not going to be perfect. And obviously, if you're going into like smaller areas, like in the corners here, then you can turn the brush size down and do like a little smaller area. Okay, so we push play now. We have some more live grass. It's going to look a bit weird here. I know it doesn't look perfect because the grass color and texture and everything doesn't quite match the material that I use from 3ds Max. So that's something that takes tweaking to get right. But that's how it works. So change back to select again. I think really for the basics, that's probably about all. So, well, I guess we've got the interior of our scene is like very, very dark. So if you wanted to add some lights for the interior, what I would suggest doing, let's just get my layout back to normal. What I would suggest doing is adding in the lights here, a point light. So if I drag in a point light, and I can drag that inside. Let's light up this room perhaps here. Maybe somebody's home and got the light on. I'm going to move that up like that. So the position is fine. And then over here on the right hand side with the light selected, there are some settings we can use. So intensity, maybe it's a bit bright, so I can turn that down to about 4, 3 maybe. And then the light color, might make that a bit sort of warmer. And you can see it reacting in real time, so that really helps. Something like that will probably be okay. And then you've got obviously the radius. So if I zoom out, the radius of that light is massive, so don't need it to quite be so large. Okay, so if I hit play again here, it looks like there's a light on in there, and I can see in a little better. Okay, looking good. What else is in there? I'm not obviously going to spend loads of time building this all up and making it look lovely because that's something that you guys can be doing. But there's also, oh, I don't know, some flowers perhaps, something like this out the front. Lovely. Looks great. Some great landscaping there. Okay, and you can bring it to life in that way. So the last thing we need to look at, because if I push play here, there may well be areas like I have where if I want to come up here, I can't get to those doors because the collision detection essentially is stopping me from getting up there. So what I need to do is go back to my folder, house folder that I made with all of the objects for the building in. And anything where you're getting that blocking happening. So with me, it's going to be the decking and these probably the walls. So if I find the walls, double click them, then it will open them in a separate window on their own. And all you need to do is go to collision here, add 26 DOP, so it adds a custom collision on there. And then I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to change the complexity of the collision. Think of this one. No, not that one. Not that one. There it is. Collision complexity, project default to use complex collision as simple. And you can see now with the purple lines, that's making it a more complex collision. So I'm going to push save, close that. See if just doing that one fixes the problem. Yeah, there we go. So now I can fully approach wherever I need to go. So anything where you're getting that blocking, it's probably those collisions which you can change the detection there. Something's gone weird with that tree. Ignore that for now. Okay. So yeah, you've got the scalability option. If you want to change that up to something like cinematic, when you're doing your like still shots, you can see my computer is struggling with that. Let's turn it back to high for a minute. That tree is really messed up there. I'm going to delete that. Re-bring one in. How strange. Something's gone funny with those shaders there, but I mean that's a my PC issue. That's not anything else. Okay, so that's about everything, I think. What else could we do? I'm trying to think of anything else I could show you. I think that's really everything. So as I say, you can like take this and build some more things with what you can find on the Unreal Engine Marketplace and your own 3D models as well. So hopefully that's helpful. See you later.